Hello.
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Women Who Rock with Success show, a digital media for professional and entrepreneurial women. Women are profiled on our digital platforms for branding and networking opportunities. To advertise on one of our shows, just go to our website at www.womenwhorockwithsuccess.com and submit a request on our advertising page. Did you know that we also report stories with top-notch media communications? Editors and reporters can submit credible and validated stories to our media source. Just go to www.topnotchmedia.org. Women Who Rock with Success continues to brand women and their profiles. Women Who Rock with Success is coming soon to Apple TV. You can also find us on Google Play, Roku TV, iHeartRadio, and other digital media sources. The show will begin in a moment with your host, Mrs. Diane Winbush.
And good morning and welcome to Women Who Rock with Success. Of course, we are on the air live on Saturday. And so thank you for tuning in and joining with us. And so since everybody has had their fillets and they have had their dinners and they have had their presents and their gifts, we're today going to talk about some things that's going to kind of get you jump started for the new year for 2020. And so, of course, we all need information. We need tools. We need resources. We need advice in regards to investments, real estate, things like that of that nature, because people are still always looking for different ways to be able to advance in many areas. So today we have an exceptional guest with us on the broadcast, and her name is none other than Lillie Monan, if I'm pronouncing that right. So welcome to the show, and good morning, Lillie.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And so are we. We are so excited because when it comes to, like I was stating before, finances and financial, whatever it is and things, people are very intrigued to be able to find out what do I do for the next step. So tell us a little bit about you.
So I am a nurse anesthetist by trade, and I've been investing in real estate for about 10 years. And I recently started a company called Vidente Capital that partners with passive investors to do investments that would allow them to invest without having to do any of the work. I want to take a quick little side plug for nurse anesthetists, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Not many people know about nurse anesthetists and what we do. We're also known as CRNAs. So we provide anesthesia for surgical procedures. We perform labor epidurals and do sedation and blocks for outpatient and ambulatory center procedures. So some people have no clue at all, and others assume that we merely assist anesthesiologists. So many people will ask, do you have plans to go back to medical school? And the answer is always no, and they come back with a response like, you shouldn't sell yourself short. And all I can do is laugh, because nurse anesthetists are master's prepared nurses trained and certified to perform all aspects of anesthesia. And while the primary model is a supervision model, there are many places where nurse anesthetists work independently. And, CRNA week is coming up, January 19th to 25. So if you know about any CRNAs, please say happy CRNA week to them and spread the awareness, because a lot of people just don't know what we do. And, we have a great safety record, and we play a really important role in the operating room. So it's good to get the word out and let people know what we do.
Okay, that's perfect. So what was your passion that drove you from one to the other, whichever one started first, whether it was the nurse or the real estate portion of it? Which one drove you to the nursing part as well as to the real estate?
So we'll start with real estate. I've kind of always been intrigued by real estate. I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I, very quickly learned the power of, investing in real estate and how important it was. And, it it's kind of one of those things, you read it, but you don't necessarily do anything with it at the time until an opportunity presents itself. You know, and that was probably in my teenage years. And then I went to college, and I honestly wasn't sure what to study. And a cousin of mine was born premature, and so I spent some time with him in the NICU, and I was like, oh, I just want to play with babies. You know, then I realized quickly that nursing is much more than just playing with babies. Nonetheless, I went on to get my nursing degree and went on to get my master's and became a nurse anesthetist. But there's always kind of been this burning desire to invest in real estate. And so I, you know, slowly just kept learning more and more about it and eventually got deeper into it. My first experience in real estate was house hacking, you know.
Wow, that's great. You know, with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, I think he goes and travels, you know, and offers free workshops and a lot of tools and resources to the audience, whomever, you know, registering and attends for it. And so one of my things for real estate have always been is like flipping houses. I just always have loved it, even when they started the Sell This House program on A&E, and then it went to different other ones like Flipping Vegas, which is on right now, and other different you know, housing opportunities. So this is just something great that individuals can be able to take part in, and also be able to learn a little bit more about it. And so thank you so much for sharing that with us, even with the nursing portion of it, of how a lot of individuals do not know about the anesthesia, I guess that's how to pronounce it, part of the nursing field. And that is so, you know, wonderful, because a lot of times we don't speak out as much on certain things. And so platforms such as podcast and different other digital media is a very good way to be able to spread the word on, you know, different topics and subjects that are so important that we sometimes may overlook. So what is, to you, share with the audience about the house hacking. What is house hacking?
So house hacking is when you rent out rooms to individuals rather than renting out an entire house. It can be, you know, a single family or a multifamily property, and some people even do it with homes they're renting. There's so many different ways to invest in real estate, and you know, there's so many opportunities to build wealth. I was able to purchase my first property using FHA, and FHA is a great government program that allows you to purchase single-family condos or up to 4-unit multifamily houses with just 3.5% down. You know, and I think it's an incredible program. I can't speak highly enough about it. Particularly for those who are purchasing multifamily properties, because you can get into a home, you know, much sooner than you otherwise would, and you can potentially live for free or incredibly cheap by renting out rooms or renting out the other units. And, you know, it's not for everyone, but I think there's great opportunity for a good portion of the population.
Absolutely. So, you know, and with house hacking, so since we all are aware of what it is, you know, some of the reality TV shows I watch from time to time, and one of them is The People's Court. And so they have a lot of those renters that are on the show that, you know, rent rooms, and sometimes they may run into some challenges, you know, in regards to that. So tell us a little, a few pros and cons in regards to that. So, and what I mean by that is, so if I think one segment where I saw is where they had rented the room, and it was apparently they didn't get all of the ins and outs and the pet peeves and what I like and what I don't like. I don't like cats and you like cats and don't bring no cat in here, and so it usually end up running a lot of people into to court and what have you. So what are some things that tips and traits that some of the audience and listeners can be able to be watchful of while seeking to be able to share a room or an apartment with someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most important thing is to kind of have some systems and rules in place. So it was definitely interesting, living with people. I lived with everyone from a model to someone in IT to someone in finance and someone in the United Nations. And sometimes it felt like the United Nations because we were a diverse group, But I had some, fun experiences, living with people, and some of them are friends today. But it's not without challenges. I think by setting rules and screening people, and kind of interviewing them and really asking, what are some of your habits? Like, are you the type of person that keeps a clean kitchen? Do you like to cook often? Just kind of setting some expectations and knowing what you're getting yourself into prior to, and checking their credit, checking their background, and making sure they have a steady job, and making sure that they're not a criminal or something along those lines. But a lot of people wait to invest because they feel like, I don't need a big house, but house hacking allows you to buy sooner. If you think about it, it takes 30 years to pay off a mortgage. And, if you wait until you're 50 to buy it, you'll never pay it off, So buying something sooner and, getting some roommates or even renting your own house and renting the entire apartment out, it could be a way to kind of jumpstart your investing, and you'll have a house that's paid off by the time you retire. And you could rent it out or sell it or whatever you need to do to, optimize your retirement. So I think there's a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely. Okay. And so in regards to, we want to hit all of the points in the era, so we won't get any comments back saying, oh, well, I found out that you all didn't cover everything, so let's cover this right quick, too, if you can. And so in regards to, so take, for instance, if I go out and I try to rent a home, and I want someone else to come in to invest with me, to share some of the expenses and what have you, what are some of the small pros and cons? You don't have to give up all of your expertise, but just a couple, in regards to how do we address this with the landlord? How do you feel that the landlord would be appreciative of this, and do we tell the landlord? Because a lot of times, too, that can cause individuals to go into litigation because they go in and they rent rooms and they rent several things, and then next thing you know, I did not even know that she was renting out this house, or my landlord did not give me permission to be able to do that. So what would you suggest in that term of house hacking?
Well, I think obviously the ideal situation is that you want to, you're paying yourself, so you want to own the house. That's the ultimate goal. But, if you're not in a position to buy and you rent a house, I think it's important to be upfront with the landlord. Typically, they will give what's called a master lease, where you would have free reign over it. You give them a set amount. Say you agree on, $1,000 a month, but let's say you're getting $1,500 a month in rental income. That additional $500 is yours. But with that, you are responsible for a lot of repairs. So obviously everything's negotiable, and you can talk to the landlord and see how it, how the contract would be drawn up. But a lot of times, if you're going to make money off of their investment, they're going to want you to kind of chip in with some of the repairs. And so you kind of have to run the numbers and understand all of that aspect. But I would definitely suggest letting them know and having it written so that there's no confusion, and, nobody likes drama.
Okay, perfect. That's correct. So what you're saying is, from your experience and your expertise, is that when an individual is renting to own, their own property, because they have some sellers that will allow the individual to rent to own instead of just buying it all at one time. So if it's a rent to own, they do have their own permission to be able to go and find individuals, renters that will share the investment with them, such as hackers.
Yeah, I mean, when you do a rent to own, you own the house, so you're free to do with it as you please. But my suggestion is using a program like FHA and purchasing the property outright. So there is no third party. You're the authority. You don't have to answer to anybody. There's no question of whether or not you can have who you want or do what you want, and I think that that's going to be the greatest chance of building wealth and growing your investment portfolio.
Okay. And so, how did you come about buying your first investment property? This is going to be key for those that are seeking to invest in property. This is going to be key for those that are seeking to hack or to bungle with other individuals, and this is also going to be key to those who are looking to flip houses, because sometimes individuals will get into real estate just to flip them. They are not trying to, they'll purchase the house to own it just for a small amount of time, and then they'll go back in there and they'll flip it and go back and sell it. So how did you buy your first investment property?
So I bought my first investment property with FHA, and I've also used FHA for a 4-unit multifamily house, and in my opinion, that's the best way to go because you don't have to worry about sharing an apartment with anyone. You have, your entire apartment to yourself, and you can rent out the other units. Flipping, in my opinion, can be good to get quick cash, but it's a job, It can be hard to find reliable contractors. You have to make sure the project stays online. In the timing of the project is working the way it should. And, I personally am not a big fan of flipping, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to really turn a property around and get some good cash flow out of it. But I'm kind of partial to buy and hold, or holding the property for several years and selling it for a return and stuff.
Okay, great. Okay, so house hacking is interesting, of course, as I had stated to the audience before. That it comes with pros and cons, and some of the cons are, as you stated, and you gave them the tips, tools, and resources of, get everything ironed out at first, the do's and don'ts, what you like and what you dislike, and there can be some pros to it as well, as this would be a great opportunity and investment for those who want to be able to rent. So house hacking is interesting. So do you recommend it as an investment strategy first? Because sometimes, look, Lillie, sometimes individuals will jump the cart. They will jump over the horse without getting on it first. So sometimes all of us have made incorrect or inappropriate investment strategies from the beginning. And so would this be something that a person, take for instance, if they're just getting out of college and they want to be able to save a little bit, would this be a good investment strategy for them to start the hacking first, or maybe go in there and maybe just start renting on their own? I wouldn't advise an individual to do the, purchase just a brand new property and things like that, and they just got out of college or what have you, because they already coming in with a debt. So would this be a great strategy for them, or for those that want to retire and they want to be able to invest in something of their own?
I think it's a great strategy for a lot of people. I think that my pet peeve is that a lot of these shows make real estate look sexy. They make it look like it's easy, but it's not. It doesn't come without challenges, and it can be expensive, and you have to consider what it's going to cost to fix things that break down. And so the reality is that it's not for everyone. But I think that a lot of people can benefit. And let's say you aren't necessarily interested in becoming a full-time real estate investor, or even a part-time one, but you want to own a home someday. house hacking can be a good way to buy a house and, maybe you live with other people for a few years. Eventually you get married, have kids in your home, have kids of your own, and you get to stay in your home. So I personally think it's great. You do have to consider the repairs. I grew up in a household where my father was like the ultimate handyman. He could fix everything from the computer to the refrigerator to the car. And in college, my car was always breaking down because I had a junker. Okay. And my dad always came to the rescue. There's this running joke among my friends that my dad would tow my car with his bare hands in the dead of winter to get me out of all sorts of predicaments. So when I went from that to being in my early 20s, hundreds of miles away from home and having to figure out all of this on my own, it was challenging, but it wasn't impossible. I learned very quickly that you have to understand the numbers, not only what it costs to buy the property, but what it would cost to fix it, how much the utilities are, whether you're responsible for snow removal or gas, and I think that if you want to invest in real estate, I think it's important to understand that nothing is without blips in the road. And I think it's important to see them as just that, blips, rather than major catastrophes. It's very easy to get all up in arms, but the reality is that there's a solution for everything. And sometimes it's a little more costly or time-consuming than we wanted, but it has to be done. It's not the end of the world. And I think that if you can maintain a positive attitude, then, you can go far in real estate. But the reality is that investing in real estate in the traditional sense is not for everyone.
So, and that is true. I mean, everybody's, different, and they have their own type of niche or brand or interest that they desire to fulfill. So with that being said, I know that you discussed about FHA in the beginning or earlier on in the show. And so what are some recommendations that you would advise for those that have no interest in managing rentals or haven't been able to save up for a down payment to buy multiple rental properties? Because like I was stating, this is a huge issue or desire for some investors in the city of Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, simply because of the fact some of the same ones that are on A&E, like Than. I can't think of the show that comes on the house on HGTV, but some of them they constantly come back like 2 or 3 times out of a year. So that perhaps is saying that they're doing great as far as the audience is concerned. So for those that don't have the down payment for multiple rental properties or don't have the down payment for their first home, how would FHA be something beneficial to them and to whatever else that you could be able to add to the question?
I think that, the fundamentals of just basic financial health is important, paying down debt and saving for retirement, have to trump everything else. We've all heard the terms good debt and bad debt. Credit cards is the most common type of quote-unquote bad debt, and so paying off credit cards has to be a priority. And, your goal should be to pay them off every month. But many people think, I have student loans or I have a mortgage. I can't invest, or my priority is investing in, my 401k, but I think that many people don't realize that they can actually invest within their 401k. So let's say you have, money sitting in your IRA that you would like to put to work, you can totally do that, and in a safer way that's potentially even going to give you much higher returns. In order to really get the power of investing over time, you need compound interest, and you need to invest over time. And so I think that just getting your finances in order first and making sure that you aren't in debt and et cetera will allow you to take the next step.
Okay, great. Okay, so tell the audience about real estate syndication. What is that?
So real estate syndication is actually a group purchase of large real estate assets. And I think it's a great way to get into real estate if you don't want to have to worry about tenants or fixing things. The beauty is that you can invest with money that's already in your retirement account, And you get all of the same, tax benefits that you would get within that account and some additional ones, such as depreciation. Many times we see an apartment complex and we think it must be owned by some rich guy, but it may actually be owned by a group of investors like yourself, through a syndication. So it's basically several people will put together a smaller amount to a larger amount, and they buy a property. And this could be a 100-unit apartment building. But you can syndicate anything. You can syndicate self-storage, senior housing, hotels, you name it. We love multifamily because it has many tax benefits, and it has the ability to force appreciation. So forced appreciation is when you increase the value of the property by either increasing the income or reducing the expenses. A lot of people also call it like sweat equity. And if you think about it, the trend is going towards renting. Like, most people are not buying, whether because they can't afford to or they just don't want to. And so there's always a demand for housing. And so.
Great. So, and the next question would be about Vendente, if I'm pronouncing that right, Capital.
Yeah, so Vendente Capital is a real estate investing firm that I started that raises capital from private investors looking to get a return on their investment. So the beauty of investing in a syndication is that the sponsor team, in this case it would be Vendente Capital, would handle everything from finding the property, purchasing it, managing, and eventually selling it. So, someone who's investing in a syndication with Vendente Capital, they wouldn't have to do anything. They would just get a return, which is pretty sweet. The returns are higher and more reliable than they would get in a stock market, and so it really is a great opportunity for anyone who's looking to grow their nest egg and they don't have the time or the desire to invest in real estate. And unlike many investment strategies in real estate, it truly is set it and forget it. Vendente means visionary in Spanish, and I came up with the name because I like to think of myself as visionary. I came from, working class family, and I didn't have a whole lot of direction on where to go or how to get the things I wanted out of life. And, today I have a master's, a career, and a great profession. I own real estate and recently started this company to pursue my passion and help others on their journey to financial freedom. And I believe that I owe a lot of my success to visualizing my dreams and figuring out how to get there and implementing strategies. And I think that we as people, we just don't take enough time out of our busy schedule to just think about what we want out of life and how to get there. And if you leave things up to chance, you'll never get there, and so we like to take the chance out of investing for you. Many people dabble in the stock market or cryptocurrency, and you can lose half of your investment overnight if you're not careful. But real estate is more secure, and when you have an experienced team leading the way, your returns are more predictable. And so, everyone, even the average person, could retire with $1 million or more, especially if you're a high-income earner. But many people leave it up to chance, and they just don't get there, So we like to help our clients think outside the box and come up with a plan to reach their goals and get where they want to go.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to take a couple of commercial breaks right quick, and we will be back with investment strategist. Miss Lillie, we'll be back in just a moment.
Awesome.
My grind, respectable. My strength, undeniable. My spirit, unbreakable. On this road of life, baby, I was born to roll.
The 2 for $5 mix and match deal from McDonald's is back. Choose from some of your all-time favorites. It's time to celebrate because 2 for $5 mix and match is back.
And we're back on the broadcast with Lillie from Vendente Capital. investments, and we are so glad to have her today as our guest to be able to share tons of information, resources, and tools with the audience in regards to real estate investment. And this has been such an awesome interview on today, and anyone can be able to listen and be able to take away a lot with them from this broadcast show on today. So in regards to, we want to kind of stay with real estate, but also shift a little bit to retirement. So individuals have problems with, and I know I had a challenge with this before until I actually signed up for it. So we all have a fear of investing. And so when it comes to 401k plans on our jobs and when, trying to put something away for retirement, we look at what we need to do now versus what we need to be putting up for the future. So I was always afraid of this. And so a family member had came to visit to an individual where I was visiting them, and so her loved one came home to visit her, and so we were sitting down and we were talking about some things, and he was sharing with me, they're actually giving you the 401k, because I think it was like up to 7% that you could invest with the company, and they give it back to you, and they did just that. And I was still a little afraid, but I went ahead and moved forward with it, and once I did that, it was so rewarding. It was like they were taking out like $90 every pay period and putting the 90 back in every pay period that I had. And when I did actually leave the company voluntarily, it was so amazing of the rewards that I received afterwards. So help us to get beyond the past of being procrastinated in regards to putting up something for our future and investing for our families and for ourselves as well when it comes to retirement and 401k plans.
So I think that it can be a little nerve-wracking, the idea of, taking money away today that you're not going to be able to use for, 20 or 30 years. But it's essential. So many people, they work until they have no choice. They can't work anymore. And then they get sick, and then they're wondering how they're going to pay their bills. And I think there's a better way. And I don't think I have to sell any of you guys on the importance of investing in retirement. I think it's clear to see, but I think that investing in real estate syndications is an alternative investing strategy that not many people know about. And, I think all of us kind of saw what happened to the stock market and how a lot of people lost value in their 401ks when the stock market crashed, but investing in real estate is more resilient. We purchase properties that are already cash flowing, and so we have some predictability on what the value is and can actually control the value a little bit better. And so our focus is kind of getting that money from a place that's unreliable and putting it into a more secure asset class. And so that's where we come in.
Okay, great. That is great. And so individuals, are there any workshops or anything like that you have to offer for the locally or nationally, or perhaps maybe online, or any master classes that you have opportunities for the listeners?
So we don't do live classes or anything of the sort, but we do have a website, www.videntecapital.com, and that's spelled V as in Victor, I as in Indigo. I guess I'll just spell it out, VIDENTECAPITAL.com. P as in Paul, I, T as in Tom, AL.com. So videntecapital.com. And we have a free 5-day passive investor course for anyone who wants to learn more about syndication or investing passively in real estate. And you can email us any questions at info@videntecapital.com. And we put out a lot of information on Instagram as well, and that's You can find us by searching Vidente Capital, VIDENTECAPITAL. And, we have information about our company, syndication, real estate, and financial tips and market insights. So I think you guys will really enjoy it.
Okay. So with the last question being said, tell the listeners how they can be able to connect with you, how they can be able to follow you, how they can be able to find you in regards to they wanting to network or perhaps have additional questions.
Yeah, so our website, videntecapital.com, is, has our contact information. And, we have a weekly newsletter that you can join, and you can always email us or give us a call, 860-506-5629. And for those that think that investing passively in syndications may be for them, you're welcome to join our Vidente Capital Investor Club. So you'll get a free 30-minute strategy session, and then you'll be added to our list to get information on deals as they become available. And we realize that just like no two people are alike, no two investments are alike. And so our goal is to find something that's going to help you reach your goals, not to stick you with something that isn't going to meet your needs. So, definitely check us out and have a chat and see if there's something that we can help you out with.
Absolutely. Lillie, thank you so much. I know I received tons of resources, and I'm certainly sure that the audience did as well. And when we broadcast it on other digital medias, they're going to receive a lot of information and resources that you had to share with the audience on today. So thank you so much for being in the studio, giving us an intake on what it is to be able to invest and not to be afraid to invest, and how important it is to be able to put something back for the future. So for all upcoming events, listeners, you can be able to go to our website at www.womenwhorockwithsuccess.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Women Who Rock with Success. And so thank you again, Lillie, for being with us on today.
No problem, Dan. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I hope that your listeners learn something. And if they decide to start an investing journey, that I can help them.
Perfect. So until next time, everyone, which will be Tuesday of next week, we will see you then live at 9:00 a.m. Central Standard Time on Women Who Rock with Success. Everyone, have a great day.